video I want to share some simple solutions if you want to time stretch audio material in Cubase. Why would you need that? So for example, if you have recorded something that wouldn't fit perfectly, sometimes it's an easy solution to cut it into smaller pieces and time stretch it very slightly. Then you can save audio material that wasn't played perfect in time, but most of the time we would use it if we want to import clips, loops and samples that weren't recorded for this project or weren't meant to be in that project in the first place. So what I mean is, if you're making music like hip-hop or electronic dance music, then you would use obviously a lot of loops and samples, and in your loop library there are a lot of clips and samples that have a different tempo than you in your track. And if you want to use these, you obviously need time stretching. Time stretching can work in two different ways. The first one is you stretch your event, and that also changes the pitch. So that means if you stretch it and it gets longer, the pitch will become lower, and if you compress it and it is shorter, the pitch will get higher. And the second one is you stretch or compress your event and the pitch stays the same. So the first and easiest one of the solutions you have for time stretching is automatic time stretching. So what I did here is I made a tiny loop with virtual instruments and put in some vocal samples. For that, I just went in my loop library and I picked a vocal loop that would fit in my key. So I used the good old A minor, and I looked here for A minor loops, and I just took some of these and dragged them over here. And then what happened is I have my grid activated and I put it at the first beat, and it automatically would fit in my track. Why is that? Because here in my loop library you see there is tempo information, and you can see it was recorded at 83 beats per minute and my track has 88 beats per minute. So now if I grab it over here and drag it over, Cubase will automatically fit it into my project so that it will become 88 beats per minute as well. And then you see in the upper right corner of the event, you see this line which appears, and that is the symbol for a time stretching process that already is applied to that event. So that is really easy. You have almost nothing to do except for here you have to activate your info line, and if you click an event you see the music mode is activated. That is all you have to do. If you do that, the event will automatically time stretch to your project. How much it will stretch, that depends on what you do. So for example, if you open your sample editor, then you can see your event here, and you can also see this quarter note. That is also the button for activating the musical mode. So if you click it, you can see here the music mode has turned off. And if I click it again, you can see it is activated. And here, right next to it, you can see to how many bars the event was stretched. So if I turn it down to 1, you can see my event that was 2 bars before is now only 1 bar long. And if I deactivate my musical mode completely for that event, you can also see that it is not fitting exactly in the 2 bars. It's not that bad for this event because it was close to my project tempo in the first place. But again, if I activate the music mode, you see the symbol for time stretching appears and it completely fits now into these 2 bars. The second process for time stretching is also really easy to use, and I think it's also very handy. You can find it in 3 different ways. The first one is if you right click and your toolbar appears, then you will find it here as the 3rd option. You click it and then your mouse, which has still the object selection arrow, becomes a tiny clock. And if you now go here in the corner where you would lengthen your event, so if you have just your normal object selection arrow and you go down here, you can lengthen your event, right? So if you drag, your event becomes shorter or longer. But now if I use the time stretch mode of my object selection tool, something different happens. The overall length won't change, but the length of my event. So what I mean is this. This is my original event. It is 2 bars long. If I use my normal object selection tool and change the length, I will also shorten what is on my event. So right now, only a part of the full event is audible. If I reopen it to the full length, you can hear everything of it. But if I shorten it, some part of my event will be missing until only a little bit is audible. And the rest is missing. So the overall length of the event changed. You cannot hear everything that is in your event. Here, where I applied my time stretching, the overall length of, let's say, the notes or the phrase in the event did not change. Everything is still audible, but it got shorter in time. So still all the notes are there, but not like you can hear. But not in the same tempo. You can hear all the notes are still available. So if I do that again, You can definitely hear that now I have an original version and 3 stretched ones with a slight change, a strong change, it is very short, and another strong change which is way longer. And that is really easy to do. I told you there's 3 ways where you can find it. If you right click, you will find it here, but you will of course also find it here in your toolbar on the top. You just click the first option. That is, by the way, if you see this tiny triangle here, which is missing, you can't find it here or here or here, but you can find it here again, and here. That means there is different options. So if you select this tool and you click it again, it will give you different options. If you click this tool and you click it again, you will get different options, and that is also available here for your object selection tool. And the third one is, you see I have my mouse here, and if I press a number on my keyboard, I can change the tools as well. And if I press the 1, then I get my object selection tool, and if I press the 1 again and again and again and again, then I can change between these 3 modes. So the normal mode, the mode where I can move the data in my event while I lengthen it, and the mode for time stretching, which is the one with the tiny clock symbol. So that is the second possibility you have to time stretch. You use your object selection tool in the time stretch mode. You just go to the right corner and grab your event, and you move it to the left for compressing and to the right for lengthening it.